A lag, hold on. Margaret. Give us a second. Here we go. Oh, boy.
Okay, so now it's recording?
We are recording.
Okay, nobody's in the waiting room? Anything you know? Okay, so I'll start the meeting at 7 p.m. Thank you, everyone, for being here. I'll just start off by advising if Deb comes on, she is the only one so far with extraordinary circumstance.
Who is?
Deb Travis. Okay. My report, regretfully, Margaret Donato has resigned from the board. I'd like to thank everybody for coming to the new members orientation. Special thank you to Marty Walpoff, being one of our presenters. I hope you come back because there's more to do.
Over 40 years, I don't take hints easily.
You know, we've been thinking of doing like Instagrams of you giving little snippets. We'll get your grandkids to do it for us. But for real, thank you very much for doing the presentation. And thank you all the members who came and gave their words of wisdom. The Environment Sanitation Committee still does not have a chairperson. We'll vote on that again in the November meeting. And Bob Snoozy, thank you very much for hanging in there and getting it going. Sarah and I did a couple of walks and took a walk with Senator Gustavo Rivera. We looked at the Broadway corridor, and then we had a walk with some elected officials in Borough President's office and 231st Street, Broadway, with the council members, assemblies, Borough President's office. I may touch upon that, but just to let you know. And just keep the meetings going. I decided to do, I'm just going to do like a little quarterly report on the little things that either I do or Farah and I do, just to send it out. It's minimal, but just to give you an idea of what's going on. Just a reminder, if any correspondence goes out from either a chairperson or a board member, it must be reviewed prior to going out. We have some information and awareness of the subject matter, and we're all on the same page and on the same steps. If you as a board member decide that you're going to act as a board member and do any type of services with a constituent within the board and ask for board assistance, we must know what the issue is. You can't just act on your own and not tell us what the issue is. Does anyone have any questions on that?
A question.
Sure.
What you mentioned before about the walkthrough, did you mention to them anything about these smoke shops popping up, or was that discussed at all?
Yes. What was Senator Gustavo Rivera, he's aware of it. There weren't that many up. We went over by where the new shelter's going to be, about Broadway, 661 Broadway, and upon it, but more so I would say over by 231st and Broadway. There are so many definitely where. We went with Councilman, Sinowitz, who, you know, has been in talks in regards to all the illegal smoke shops, so that was definitely touched upon. It was more than touched upon, it was discussed. I mean, you could see them all over.
So when we come to them again, they'll be,
Yeah.
they'll be well briefed. Okay, very
Yeah,
good, very
yeah,
good.
Yeah. I was amazed at how many were out there.
There's a lot. 15 we know of.
We walked on Broadway, 6661 Broadway. I don't recall seeing any because it was,
There was a illegal one at, off Riverdale Avenue at 261st Street,
yeah,
which was pointed out to him.
right, to Gustavo Rivera.
Wasn't open at that time that we walked by.
They're like all over. We also went to look at another potential site that was on our list from previous years. The landlord, hasn't leased the place out, so we took another look. And we're looking at more places within the next week and a half. Looking to the draft flyer, we're waiting for the, recast to draft a flyer so that we can, have it posted, or if you know any mom and pop real estate offices that are not attached to the multiple listing service, where they get most of their leasing information from. Since we want to stay in the area, we're gonna get the flyer so that they can contact the realtor, that's assigned to us. And these will be for neighborhood real estate offices that may know of a place, that may have a place that's not listed on a service, that they're searching an office space for us. Looked at one last week, we're gonna look at another place in about a week. And our hope is to continue to look as many as we can so that we have options and come back to the board.
But DCAS is still working.
Oh, yes, we met with them.
Okay.
Yes, no, the flyers
It's
will,
not just what your efforts, they're working too, right?
yes, we met with them. We met with them. They showed us the place. No, we can't see a place without, well, it's not that we can't see a place. They're the ones who are searching the places for us. But because they haven't really provided us anything new, and if they're only using the services that most realtors use, the multiple listing service, they don't work in the Bronx, they're not in our neighborhood, so they won't come here and look at the mom and pop real estate offices that are
Understood.
not licensed with them. So we may as well, if we're in the neighborhood, if you see a real estate office, you know, that may be local and not necessarily on the multiple listing service, we can hand them a flyer and say, hey, listen, if you come across this information, let us know. Because their inventory is mostly Manhattan. Yeah, they have the Bronx and they have Riverdale, but the small places they're not gonna have on their site, and they're not coming to the Bronx. At least I don't think so, they haven't so far. So, but they were very nice, we met with two of the people that you've worked with in the past from DCAS, we still have the same assigned representatives. You know, so, moving a little bit more. So the inventory isn't all that great, and our budget hinders us greatly. There's a potential. Let me see. And I think that's it for my report. So we'll go on to the next item. Measures.
Reports here, if anybody wants. Okay. I'll get more, I don't think I have printed enough. And Scott can't be here today.
Okay.
The only thing I did want to mention on this, and I could give you my, I don't really need one. Oh, here, I'll get this back to you. Sorry, the only thing is, I spoke with the, Borough President's office, because they are submitting all our bills and everything, just to make sure everything's been paid. I'm happy to say all of our bills have been paid, except maybe $100 still left to pay. And that one of our items are laptops that we purchased in the end of June. They did a manual, input with that, with the controller's office, and what that means is that they took our money from FY '24, but we will get it back in January, February. So we are gonna have an additional $3,525 in that report, January, February. That is just one note I wanted to mention.
Could you repeat that?
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't understand it, okay.
So, we ended the year fiscal year '23, end of June. The item.
With money we gave back, right? We gave money back to the city?
No, we tried to spend almost all of it.
I know what we tried to do, we gave money back to the city?
I believe around 5,000.
5,000 went back to the city, okay, and?
So there is, when you're doing stuff, Luke was putting everything in the system, FMS. The stuff he put in for the computers did not get put in for whatever reason, nothing to do with Luke. They told us from the FMS that we have to do a manual, I forgot the word, allocation, which means we submit it manually to the controller's office, who pays it, so that it would be attributed to fiscal year '23. But how they do it, because with all the rush with everything, I guess, they have a backlog, I guess, so it goes into FY '24, they take the money, and then they reimburse us the money back.
Again, I'm sorry, I really do have to ask.
I don't,
Okay.
that's how it was explained to me, but the
Okay.
key thing
So
is,
I can ask after the meeting.
the key thing is the money is coming back from fiscal year '23, so it will be back
And
in
how
our
much money
budget.
are we talking about?
$3,525, and I have to look at how many cents, I think it's 25 cents. $35.25. We
Does
will
that
be getting
mean
back.
we didn't, that the office, not our office, but that the expense was not submitted?
It
Because
was
they have a
submitted,
backlog?
but they didn't put it through.
Yeah, so
Exactly. They said we have to do a manual thing after that, because we said we cannot have this in our FY '24 budget, this is from '23. So they said, you have to do this manual, we had to rely on the BP's office to do it for us, which they did, and he, I spoke to him today, he said that that was submitted and will be returned January or February when they do their review of all the monies that they have to credit and give back.
Be very aware to
Oh,
look for it.
That's why I'm mentioning it now,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
no one will forget, and we will make sure we get it back.
So the controller's office is responsible
The
for the,
you do it through the controller's office, yes, and then we get reimbursed.
That 3525, will that come, will they then, I know Laura mentioned that we gave back 5,000, so then does that offset any of the 5,000 that we gave back, or is that additional money that's at the end of the fiscal, I'm assuming that the reason they did this entry.
$5,000 we get, but that's the money you give back goes into a big pool of money that they get.
But we should not have had to return it if we spent 3525 and it wasn't properly allocated. So I'm assuming that the reason they did the allocation the way they did was because they may have received the funds past the cutoff time for funds to be remitted, which is what all businesses do at a certain point in the year. If you don't put in your request by, let's say, June 15th, if they don't receive it by June 15th, then it has to go to the next fiscal year.
Right.
So I'm assuming that that was what happened, but if we spent 3525 and we gave back 5,000, then they owe us money. They owe us 1475.
No, they don't give you back.
We only give back, we're only entitled to 1475.
No, we didn't do a manual expense for $14.25, we didn't buy anything for $14.25.
No, I understand we didn't buy anything, but
Yeah.
you're saying they didn't post it until after the fiscal year, correct?
Now, when we were trying to input it in the system, and I remember Luke had a tremendously hard time doing this, it wasn't accepting it in the FMS system. He had it in, wasn't
No,
accepting it.
I understand that.
But that is an expense that we made, we bought something.
So what happens to the money that we gave back?
Nothing, that goes in back to the city.
So why
and
aren't
we
they,
get that.
why aren't they going to offset our funds? That's my question.
Yeah, that, you can ask your treasurer that question,
We're looking back at the minutes,
Yeah.
at the minutes from June, and it references that there's probably gonna be a $5,000 balance that we're giving back. So this 3,500 is in addition to that 5,000, because we anticipated that that money was going to be spent. So since it wasn't spent, I would anticipate that it's 8,000 total that, total. But since this money is being repurposed to FY '24, that should be used in this budget cycle. So anyway, it's in the June minutes from the executive committee meeting.
But just to be clear, when you give back that money, that's it. It's not like it's coming back to us, 5,000's gone. Okay, I just wanna be clear.
You do not get it back.
Bob, you had something? I know I heard Bob's voice.
No, that's okay, it sounds like we paid for we wanted to pay for expenses that didn't make the 2023 fiscal year, right? So, we didn't get that money debited from our account at the end of the fiscal year.
Correct.
So, we had an artificially high surplus
Right.
at the end of the year because the end of year bottom line wasn't allowed to remove the 3,500, right? That would've, so, that means really we're only giving the city of New York back 1,500 because they're giving us back 3,500. They're not, but they're giving us back, I'm talking about in real math terms. They're giving us back 3,500.
It's just like,
gave them 5,000.
one has nothing to
6,000
do with
in
the other.
total.
One, am I correct? One has nothing to do with the other. The 5,000 that we gave back, we gave it back, goodbye, you'll never see it again. The 3,500, it's like, at least, correct me if I'm wrong, it's like they borrowed money from us and then they're gonna give it back to us.
It's
Kinda like
basically
that.
rolling over
Exactly.
funds from '23 into '24.
Yeah, we're not
So
getting
that money we haven't given back. The 5,000 we've given back.
Okay.
The 3,500 is coming back to us.
Which was record low, because there were years where it was 20,000.
I know.
Okay?
Which is crazy.
I have to say, Pablo, Luke, myself, we were all ordering and planning, and it was frantic, and I'm not surprised that this happened, because 59 community boards are doing the same thing, you know, at crunch time, so. Wisely, we didn't just spend it on things we didn't need, we needed what we needed.
So January, February, everyone look out for 3,500. We're gonna have a party.
I asked a question,
I'll try to answer.
yeah.
I wanted people to know
No,
that, I wasn't trying to step in for Scott, but
Right,
absolutely.
no, but it seems to me that, the amount of, the item
Mhm.
was, the responsibility of OMB to enter it, or FMS to enter it. If that was their lack, we shouldn't be punished for it. By taking it out of 24.
Again, it couldn't get approved in the system, I know Luke did enter it, it was in there, and they did send us emails
There's a
saying
lot of emails going
that,
on.
you know, you have to do this, this, and this to put it in for FY '24, and, we did what they said, but we're getting it back. I can't answer to that.
Well, that's a good
technical
thing,
stuff,
that you're
but
getting it back.
I'm happy, yeah, to know it went against FY '23, and we will get it back.
So at the board meeting, the treasurer should be able to, it's not your job to give the ins and outs, but the treasurer can give
Correct.
kind of a story, so the board knows. what's
And he
going
has
on.
been discussing it through the months.
I have no memory
Okay.
I have no memory of money, charged to 23 that is
Well, he
being.
mentioned it in,
Only this one item, yeah.
Mhm.
he will definitely. Shall your report?
Okay, well, we did have a little crossover, I'll try not to repeat. as everyone knows, we have been having some issues with bombing at our meetings. And I just want to report that we did reach out to our local elected officials and to the 50th precinct to make an official report, and let everyone know what's happening here. We've asked to meet with a special unit that deals with this, and I'm just waiting to hear from the captain if that's possible. I did send them the recordings, they're reviewing it now, and they will get back to it. Everyone was very responsive today when we reached out to everyone. We're saving all the recordings, we're not posting them.
More than one occasion?
3 times now, yes. One we
Third?
didn't know about because we were so good at muting them all, you didn't even hear them, but we saw them there. And Julie mentioned touring and looking for new office space, so I won't mention that again. I am happy to report that the budget priorities fiscal year 25 have been submitted to the city. Budget Chair Gelman and Chair Reyes and I have been meeting with our elected representatives. We've already met with Councilman Dinowitz. We just met with Councilmember De La Rosa, and we're going to be meeting with Councilmember Sanchez to go over those budget priorities to see if they're funding any of those items. We had a lovely orientation the other night with our new board members and old board members, and it was at Downey's Bar and Grill, and I just want to thank our chairs for coming, for everyone who came to give advice, as well as Marty Walpole and the Department of City Planning for making presentations at the event, so thank you. I've also been reaching out to a few of our board members that have yet to sign the Code of Conduct acknowledgement. So I am not naming names, but if they don't do it by next month, I'm gonna start naming names. So please do that. I sent the link again and the request.
When? When?
If you didn't hear from me, then you did it. So
Oh, okay.
thank you. You only knows who didn't do it will hear from me.
Jerry, at Wilburton Ethics, we talked about who signed already, new members signed, and those who applied for their 2 years signed. So are you talking about everybody
The
else?
office sent a link, yes, this is what they sent me, they still don't have it, the acknowledgement. So I did
From
send it.
everybody, that's my question, everybody.
It's not once every
No,
term?
they gave me specific people that need
Oh.
to send it, so I reached out to them.
So again, I just have to ask,
So
is it
members
still
who were
the,
not renewed
yeah,
probably didn't get it.
okay, and they're being asked to sign, that's the question.
Yeah.
Yes, I have a list.
Well, if you didn't get an email, then you're good.
All right, but does that mean that it's once per term, not once per year, like sexual harassment is?
We'll find out.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah.
I believe it's once per year, but we'll find out.
The civility never ends. Whether you sign or not.
And I've been very busy these last few months interviewing, people to fill our community coordinator position. And I am happy to announce I have found an excellent candidate. Yeah, I was impressed with his resume, his ability to do the job that's required. And also, I have past experience working with him, so I know he can be really good in the role. And lastly, I will hold the next district service cabinet meeting on the first Tuesday in December, and we'll be sending a memo to everyone to ask if you have anything you'd like me to put on the agenda and follow up on. Thank you all for your continued patience, your support, and that's it. Thank you all.
Community coordinator, was an offer made?
Yes.
I go into executive session.
Into that,
Oh,
yes.
yeah. Thank you, Sarah. So the next item, roll call.
Whatever you want me to
You
do. All right, Julie Reyes. Here. Sergio Villaverde. Present. Scott Croftinger. Ross Balter.
Present.
Martinez. Fazio. Julia Alexander. Here. And is now working. Thank you.
You good? You good?
Yeah. Dr. Fanuzzi.
Here.
Eli Kaplan. Mary Ginty.
Here.
Charles Merdler. Steve Walpop.
Here.
Deborah Travis is EC. Edward Green.
Present.
Is she here?
Permission, but
She
she's,
has permission, but I don't know if she's on.
Weird.
Kelly Buford.
Present.
Peter Gomez.
Very slow.
David Gelman.
Present.
Under.
It's clicked, you have to wait, it's very slow tonight, yeah. Two of 12?
Not including Deb, right?
No, out of, 18 eligible.
The next item is the approval. Yeah, don't say it out loud, don't say it out loud. We're gonna go on to item number 6, for the approval of the October 4th Executive Committee minutes. And on the minutes, I will take a suggestion from a board member. And the second item on my report, it talks about, Sarah and I attended a roundtable. The Department of Transportation Commissioner Rodriguez on Curb Streets. We will, and that's to say, curb lane modernization and management. Send anyone a link if you want to read up on it. The curb streets.
Approve?
Any opposed?
Discussion. This was one of the meetings that we had an issue with, right?
Which one?
The October exec meeting where somebody bombed it?
Somebody vomited.
Vomited.
Vomited. Somebody might have vomited as well, but that
was oral.
That wasn't my concern. We're having discussion.
Discussing the minutes because of the.
Okay,
No.
executive minutes we approve here.
Just conference.
Okay.
Well, what about the minutes, Sergio?
All right, give me 1 minute.
Sergio?
I didn't notice in the minutes, did we make a reference to it?
I don't think so.
Because it was spoken about, it was certainly a sizable event, to the point that we followed it up on it formally, and if it happened at a meeting, there should be something reflected in the official record.
Did it bring about a policy change?
No, but it was certainly something that happened at the meeting. This is the official record of the meeting. I think that there needs to be some notation, because there was discussion about it. Recall, I certainly, said.
Sergio, you're asking about the board minutes, right?
No,
Oh, I'm sorry.
it happened at exec.
Okay,
No,
okay.
this happened at exec as well.
Understood, okay.
So I had sent that in an email previously, you're saying that it was a concern, it's still a concern, and it's a concern that we are not reporting something that we reported to the police and to our elected officials.
On the computer audio, or you're dialing in?
If anyone on this call can hear us, can you let us know?
So since we didn't say at the meeting that we're gonna put it in the minutes, maybe we can put it in this month's meeting, which Farah already requested her report. It's gonna be in this month's meeting.
Right, but it happened here, and I don't, not my, you know, certainly my opinion that by omission, we minimize something, this day and age of the gravity of it said. I think we
The police report,
mentioned that this happened at one of our, otherwise we're basically whitewashing it. We're basically this is the official record of our, something major happened. We don't, I can't, police, they're reporting a meeting. This is something major, and it needs a place in, yes. I think that's somewhere.
It's also not part of the parliamentary procedure, which I understand why it's not there, and that's what we record, but,
I mean, we record things that are not voted on as well. You know, somebody makes a statement, you know, and I certainly made a statement about it, and other people made statements. We don't just record, if the minutes were just motion by so-and-so, second by so-and-so, voted on by so-and-so, then you're right. But there are things, it's replete with most things that are not something that there was a parliamentary vote on. And it's really my concern that this day and age we are committing something that significant that happened to us.
One, both ways. First of all, the minutes do not record statements. It's not a transcript, it's actions taken. The question of whether or not this should be there, I think is worthy of debate. Because on one end, the people who did it and might read our minutes will know that we followed up, and that might scare them off from doing it again. On the other hand, I'd love to whitewash it. It doesn't exist. We don't record people running onto the ball field, even though it happened and the whole world saw it. We're there. So I have mixed feelings about it.
I do too.
on the website, Farah, when we didn't put the minutes in, what did it state the reason why? I know there's something on the website. It has the
Thought
minutes.
I read it somewhere. I don't know if it was on the exec or the regular ones.
I do recall writing it because Ed spoke about it at length. I do believe it was a general board meeting that we talked about it.
Yeah.
Which I haven't looked at. I was just looking back at the exec minutes, which I don't recall there being a lengthy conversation, but definitely the general board meeting in October, it's in those minutes.
I just wanna add something too, so, it is an unusual circumstance, but I kind of agree with what Sergio is saying, because let's just say, for argument's sake, any type of prosecution happens somewhere down the line, or somebody's looking into trying to prosecute somebody. This is it's a tangible document that somebody can refer to state that this actually happened. Even though there are other examples we can give, this is the record, something that's on the record that, so I would say even if it is unorthodox a little bit, it's worthy of adding. That's just my perspective.
Say one thing about that, because we have the recordings, so those we have for the record. We're not posting them till we can,
No,
but we're submitting them to the authorities.
I made a statement, and I'm not saying we should post what was said. Right. I made a statement to how I'm appalled at the Zoom bombing that just occurred, of what happened just now, at least. Some things, and other people also made, by far was not the only person to do it, but there were enough members that made statements that those statements maybe should make the record. Because you're right, don't put up what they said, but, we as members did comment on it.
I believe Sergio makes a very good point. Our minutes are our history. That is the history of this board. And with all due respect to Farah, the fact that there is a recording someplace, nobody in the public is gonna find the recording to find out what occurred. That is not a true record. It's not a true, record of, the history of this board. however it gets said, maybe
Right.
maybe how it gets said is important, and probably is, but it does need to be,
So at the October minutes, the executive committee under public safety, one of the bullet points says that the chair in his report said, "We'll bring up the hacker attack during tonight's meeting with the 50th precinct." If you all would like to modify that, you can modify it.
These exec?
Was that exec or public safety?
public safety, we're talking about
She's talking about what was said in exec, and it was brought up at public safety.
Here. So if you'd like to modify that bullet point, please do.
But you said public safety, that's why I.
The chair of public safety, during his report at exec, addressed this.
Memorialized.
Yeah, if you'd like it to be stated otherwise, I'm happy to
Sorry, I
revise.
didn't, I'm looking at the minutes from October, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which page?
Oh, yeah, it's under public safety, page 3.
You did mention.
So that's.
I think it's pertinent, I think we should just modify it and move on. I don't think anybody's opposed to it.
But it's in there.
No, but that the chair of the board recognized it and took action.
Well, that's what we're gonna do in this,
You didn't take action until the next meeting,
until now.
so it wasn't part of that meeting.
So is the language strong enough, Sergio?
Just to
Or
demonstrate-
specific enough?
Right, I don't think it's specific enough, I don't want to quote the person, but I think, you know, there are other members, you know, make comments of the appalling nature of the commentary that was
Okay.
made and needs to be followed up. I would like that added to, I'd make a motion to add that to the minutes, I certainly said that. At that point.
To add what?
To add after the part that, after the part where it says that we'll bring, in public safety, we'll bring up hacker attack, precinct, Sergio Wilverdi also expressed.
No, this is his report. It can't be his.
It's not relevant to the minutes.
How else?
It's not a transcript. You wanna say members of the board express concern about this not happening again, or we should follow up on it. It's no quote.
Is that friendly?
That's fine.
That's a friendly,
And
okay.
to be accurate, it wasn't a hacker attack, it was a quote-unquote Zoom bomb. Hacker attack is where somebody,
Give me the language, and I will edit it.
okay, quote-unquote,
Well, you can't edit, you
bomb.
can't edit the public safety thing, because he didn't say it, and he didn't report it at public safety. It would have to go, if it goes anywhere, you put on the new business or something like that. It can't go in public safety.
You want to change your wording to Zoom bomb?
I don't even know if I use the word hacker, but it's just, it's semantics. We just want to get the correct language.
A hacker is a very, very different thing.
Right.
Somebody got
No, I agree with you.
without authorization, and that person had authorization.
Whatever the appropriate language is, we just want to convey what actually happened. That's it.
So from,
And to change the word hacker to Zoom bomb,
Quote-unquote.
okay? One,
It's
And,
just, I thought.
and number two, we were gonna,
The placement of where it goes, isn't that what?
well, yeah, but I think the placement, if it says members in general expressed concern of the appalling nature of it, it could go under there because, you know, we discussed it further when Ed said he was gonna take action, so I think it's still proper there.
I don't think so, because it's his report.
Right, but there was discussion during his report, so it's not necessarily quoting Ed, and if, as they say, we say members expressed concern over the appalling nature of language, that would cover it. Stronger than what it is, it's not saying it's coming from Ed. That's when the discussion happened. That's when part of the discussion happened. Part of it happened.
I was appalled by it, you could say that.
Right.
So,
How about again, is it
You
clear that
noted
it happened
and
in
members
real time
concur.
during the meeting?
I'm good with it.
That work?
Well, I don't know if it was hacked when he was giving his report. It happened before.
Mention.
And I presume.
Before
Presentation.
it was before his report, which is why he mentioned that he would raise the issue with the precinct.
it was definitely before his report, but then, as Ed said that, other people were agreeing and agreeing with it.
I would,
So we had discussions before he gave his report.
And during his, and after his report,
I don't think it happened after, I think it was.
No, but I'm saying that that we were all, there were people certainly supportive of your position to report it to the 50th.
So
That discussion did happen at the time you said that.
All right, so what it reads now, will bring up Zoom bomb during tonight's meeting with the 50th precinct. And then under what?
Under
New
that.
business, old business?
It was right there.
Bullet
It's right there,
point.
remember?
With the same bullet point?
Yeah, the bullet point.
Members express
concern
Concurrence,
Distress.
What's that?
concurrence, members.
Members concurred with
Oh,
their,
members
about the concern.
Right.
concerned,
About, yeah.
concern over appalling nature of what was said.
And I would say interruption of the meeting so that people know it happened in real time.
Yeah.
I think that's the key.
The appalling interruption.
Unfortunately, I have something to add to it.
So that's the motion as amended.
Anybody have
Can
any
you read,
objections?
can you read it, back without having a prompt?
Without looking, no. That would be my motion as amended, I thank everyone.
Does anybody have any objections?
Second?
Four.
Please second it. Any objections? Abstains? Approved.
I want to add something since we're on this, and I don't want to beat this to death, but I think it's very relevant.
Mhm.
So the board made a decision to make the video, inaccessible to the public. And I don't know, I don't know how I quite feel about that, because, although appalling things were said, it may have a reverse effect on what maybe the intent was. So by censoring that out so that people can't see that, people aren't aware of the appalling nature of what happened. So I don't know how people feel about that, but I actually wanted to view the video, and, you know I can call you guys and probably do it for myself, but for the public, I don't know if that's necessarily a great idea to start censoring them, or even within the bounds of what we are, supposed to be doing in terms of making things inaccessible to the public. I see you straining at the bit. Go ahead.
I wouldn't do anything until you talk to, the council or city agency, and if we are accountable for purveying anti-Semitism or any, hate speech, there could be consequences. We should be talking to DeWitt and the Corp Council on what to do with, Zoom recordings we've embargoed temporarily because we're concerned about the content.
I think that's a great idea.
We'll check
We're
in.
waiting a legal opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, 'cause I think Ed's right,
We
censoring is wrong, right?
We absolutely need a legal opinion.
Yes.
So we'll
We shouldn't
check in.
tamper with anything until we're given clearance. By tamper, I mean edit.
Okay, so we'll check in next month. If anybody wants to put on the agenda, if we hear any information beforehand, we could put it on the agenda for discussion. In regards
That was
to
my
that.
initial concern, is that we already did tamper with it.
We haven't put it up, we didn't we didn't like edit it, right?
True.
But I think it's a responsible, it's a responsible thing to hold on pending an opinion.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I'm just gonna turn this around and just finish the minutes.
Yeah, thank
We
you.
go with the minutes? Everybody approve the minutes?
As amended.
As amended.
Thank you, Sergio. And then we'll discuss everything else, either new business tonight or next month. We'll go to committee reports and resolutions. Start off with law, rules, and ethics.
Quickly this time, I hope. The board office had put out, and I recommended members of my committee to watch a series, or wanted to zoom in to a series that was provided by the Civic Engagement Commission and Robert's Rules. I sat through two of them last year, I sat through two of them this year, and I was very distressed this year. And I share further with my committee, in further discussion. They had blinkers on with respect to Robert's Rules. Kept on saying things that were totally untrue with respect to open meetings law and with respect to the city charter. For example, pensions do not count. recording abstentions is irrelevant. So if we were 10 people in the room and 2 voted yes and 1 voted no, and everybody else abstained, it passed. And a majority of those who voted. That's not in the city charter. And so I've had a exchange of some communication with the person who was conducting that session, and I listed it anywhere from 8 areas I thought they were violate. If the issue was, if the program was directed for community board members, and the information they were given was terribly inadequate and wrong, and I gave them examples. I got a partial response from them, saying they'll pass it along to the law department, and he will get back to me Thursday afternoon after he finishes his dental appointment. But, I'm still waiting. I attended a session on Monday, also by the same agency, on etiquette dealing with people with disabilities. I found interesting but minimal value to community boards. But I haven't argued them yet on this one. I'm just staying focused here. I just want to give a heads up. People run to Robert's Rules as they should. Robert's Rules is valuable. But the word they use, and I keep repeating, precedence, rules is great until something supersedes it, which is the open meetings law and the city charter. A second item, we're going to perform a survey. Steve Fruit will be doing it. It'll be discussed further at the next week at the LRE meeting, in which case the discussion is the use of extraordinary circumstances. Is there a consistency from board chair to board chair? And should there be more precise instructions on how and when? Finally,
Board and committee chairs.
right, and committee chairs. Finally, we have been discussing, you know, is implying in tonight, the whole concept of code of conduct. We have discussed it, examples, and then it was brought to our attention that we were spinning our wheels, was in our ethical guidance manual, there is a statement already there, I think covers it all. It's known that members would have personal, family, work, or social interests and associations that may affect their views or conduct in board considerations. Accordingly, rules, wrong one, have to do all that. But there is a statement in there, and the question to be raised at the next LRE meeting is how best to recirculate it, so we're all aware it's not as extensive and worthy as is the Borough President's Code. It's a simple statement, and I say it already exists in the ethical guidance manual. I'm done.
And recreation? Anyone reporting for them? Yeah?
No, she's not.
Okay, public safety?
Okay, public safety has four resolutions. We have 3 renewals and 1 corporate change. At the board meeting, everything was, approved unanimously, all 4, by our committee, but at the board meeting, what I generally do is, anybody has any objections about voting in a block. At this board meeting, I think I'm gonna, 3 of the renewals we'll put in 1 vote, and I wanna vote on the corporate change separately, and I'll explain why, even though it was unanimous. So, the renewals are for Cocina Chente Mexican Restaurant at 3535 Riverdale Avenue. 50th had no problem with any of, no reports, no problems with any of these businesses. Other one was Kai Fan at 3717 Riverdale Avenue. And the 3rd renewal was for Mama Juana Cafe at 3541 Riverdale Avenue. So the corporate change, This is the story with the corporate change. Tijuana Nights, which is located at 216 West 242nd. Now, this has been, well, the 50th precinct stated, and our committee stated, that there have been many 311 complaints about this establishment in the past. So, the reason we voted unanimously to approve this corporate change, several reasons. One is the new owner is going to be, well, the old owner is gonna be selling his shares, which represent 40% of the business, to the woman who appeared before the committee. So we spoke with her, and, you know, for one, I view new ownership of a problematic business a good thing. I mean, hopefully it'll be a good thing. I don't know if it can be worse, if we've had a lot of complaints about this business in the past. The other thing is their actual liquor license is not gonna be coming up for renewal until December of 2024. So it's not for a renewal of the liquor license, it's for a corporate change. Somebody's, buying out one of the owners, and we met her, and she seemed, oh, and also very important, she stated that when we questioned her about some of the issues this business has had, she stated that the college students were responsible for previous disturbances in and around the club, and Tijuana Nights has raised the patronage from 21 to 25 to restrict college students. I think that's a pretty good act of good faith on her part as a business owner to do something like that. I don't necessarily buy that it was the college students causing all the trouble, but it was a good sign of good faith on her part to do that. So we approved this unanimously, this corporate change, because if, I don't know what the problem was, if it had to do with the old owner or whatever, but it's somebody new coming in, and, you know, she seems sincere, and, we hope that this business is going to, succeed and not generate complaints like it has in the past. So that's our issue. Oh, wow. David, I saw David first.
Well, as I recall, this was Caribbean Nights and Barcelona Bites, they both in that site.
Caribbean Bites.
Well, I'm not, maybe Caribbean Bites, but definitely Barcelona Bites.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
We're both there, they were the problem ones. I don't think that they were students, I think it was, but, at any rate, I like the fact that basically we've got 13 months before they're up for the liquor license, which is probably the most important thing to them, and they've gotta behave, or, you know, next year we'll, no.
I was hoping that it would have to be renewed in December of this year, so we could see what happens in the next 2 months, and if they were a problem, it is what it is.
Right.
Marty?
What is the practical value of voting no?
I didn't find any, so that's,
No, if we voted no,
oh.
what would happen?
Well, SLA would be aware of it, and I don't know what their I can't predict what they do about it, but they would know we'd be, not in favor of it.
Advisory.
Yeah.
Just, I think it's the same effect as voting no on their liquor license, you know, SLA still has to approve a corporate change. So this person had no relation to, they had no ownership interest in it before?
No.
I mean, that's hopeful to me, because a lot of times these things are done under the table, and we never know there's a corporate change.
In fact, but
Clearly not. They're coming to us, and they're reporting it to the SLA. So that's hopeful, at least, I think, from that perspective, that they're following the rules to that extent, and there must be arm's length, because if they were cousins, they would just say, you know, the money.
So, and I always get worried about corporate change, because I don't know what it means. Really, the management is the single most important, and that's what I think one really cares about, is managing the damn thing. So, when you talk to them, so there's a corporate change, did you get a sense that, this 40% owner, or any of them, they're in charge of the management? They're legally in charge, but do they really manage
I did get the impression that she is very hands-on, and she seemed, you know, the way she spoke to our committee, she seemed like she was going to be, I didn't, you know, hear exactly that I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, but it seemed like she was, going to be involved highly in the management.
In the management,
Yeah.
okay, thanks, that
Yeah.
actually was, okay.
What does the liquor license say about, because the liquor license you have to check off, is it owner managed, or will you have a separate manager? Because that manager then has to be vetted. But that's a question, I guess, for, you know, further down the line.
You know, a corporate owner could just be the money, and if I get 40% of the money, okay, that's
Right.
one thing, and SLA probably cares about that for their other, legislative responsibilities, but for our concerns,
Who's at
the
the door?
management responsibility is
Yeah.
important, yeah.
Who's at the door?
You have more?
Going down.
I just did want to mention something besides the resolutions also. For the second month in a row, the legal cannabis from Office of Cannabis Management application, pulled their application at the 11th hour again. And this time, the reason was cited as, being, the location was the problem. And the reason the location was the problem is because it's right next door to 140 men's homeless shelter. But I'm thinking that the pressure that was put on them might have had something to do with it, because I know elected officials were concerned with it, I know the community board was concerned with it. So I think they even questioned the legality of them doing it. There's a lot of confusion about this, but, because, as, you know, Laura knows about the municipalities, they're supposed to be, you know, within a certain range of municipalities or away from the municipalities, so I think that might have had something to do with
And the
it.
park is considered a community facility.
I don't think they cared about that, though.
Well, they withdrew it, so they cared about something. There was a lot of outpouring of opposition to it.
Right, I think that had a lot to do with it, but they cited to us that it was just, the location didn't work for them, so on to the next. We're gonna have another one next month, but we'll,
People are just a little slow.
Get any more
we
applications?
got one more.
When did that come in?
Brown. Application.
Traffic and transportation?
There is nothing new to report. TNT did not meet in October. Our next meeting is November 16th.
There was something. You did get 6, do you have that?
Traffic and transportation?
Traffic and transportation.
You have a resolution?
In the resolution.
Co-naming.
Oh, yeah, I would just change it, thank you. The street co-naming, you note that the Riverdale Auto Clinic has been there for 40 years. The Packus family owned it across the street where the TD Bank was for 40 years, and then Jimmy moved it to its current location. So the Packus family has been on both sides of that corner, since the middle of the 20th century. I think it just might be worth noting.
More than 40 years, you want to say?
Well, but I'd also note that they were on the other side of the street.
It was in the immediate area, it wasn't exactly at the location.
So it covers both corners.
It covers both corners. It says 230th and Tibbet, so I'm not sure I'm understanding what you would like.
I would just note that where it says that it was there for 40 years, it was across the street for 40 years, and then, his family owned it across the street for 40 years, and then he moved it to its current location.
You send me some language and I'll look at it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Youth? On to aging.
So, our next meeting is November 9th at 4 o'clock here. There is a resolution that was voted on and approved by the committee, and that was to support and advocate on behalf of municipal retirees, urging city council to pass 1099/2023, which will preserve retiree health care choices by mandating the city to offer Medicare eligible city retirees, at least one, and their Medicare eligible dependents at least one Medigap plan with benefits equivalent to or better than those available to city retirees and their dependents as of the December 31st, 2021. Now, I am aware that this is going to cause a discussion during the full, board meeting. And, yeah, we voted to approve it and, pass it to the entire board. Then, that's it.
Across the line of legislative advocacy.
So you're asking them, you're urging the city council to what? Wait, he's saying it right now. Can you just read?
Legislation.
Therefore
Be
be
it resolved.
resolved, therefore be resolved what? Be it resolved.
Oh, to urge the city council to pass it into, well, to put it in front of city council, that's what we're advocating.
So that's the word.
Okay.
To bring it to the floor, yeah, I'm sorry.
That's, okay,
Send that to us?
Yes, I have it here, I just have it.
Perfect, okay.
so then the resolution will be to ask the city council to bring it to the floor.
Yes.
Okay.
Does it have a committee in mind? Do you have a committee in mind? Because they have to vote on it to get to the floor.
Like a labor committee, right?
Specify that.
Okay.
Give them a pathway.
Has it been it's been introduced, right?
They have eight.
Been reduced.
It's assigned to a committee as soon as,
Oh.
what committee was it introduced to?
I'm not
Committee
sure.
was Barron House, because I think Barron has it and it has 18 members so far. I believe.
Was Barron.
We can look it up, either
Yeah.
the committee or appropriate committee, some language.
We're just urging them to bring it to the floor.
Yes.
You know, you want to vote.
Yeah.
Is there a discussion?
In civil service and labor.
Civil service and labor.
That's separate.
Anybody have any comments? Help them out here.
Yeah, I'm pretty raw, so.
You're asking them to vote.
No, Oscar, that was pretty good.
You're asking the committee to vote, and then you're asking them to bring it to the floor. It's locked in committee right now, and you want it out, okay? Okay, vote at a committee level, and then bring it to the floor for a full vote.
Everybody has voted yet?
Hmm?
I thought this came out of your committee, Oscar.
Oh, yeah, my committee voted.
He's talking about the
No,
city
he's
council.
talking
City council.
I'm talking about the city council committee.
The
I
resolution
mean,
is,
whatever, she's the chair of that committee. Our third city council rep.
It's not just.
he's asking the council to bring it to the floor so they can vote on it. Is there anybody that would be
Just
opposed to this, to
David
give
deserves an
him?
answer first, and the answer is yes. We have to do it all the time, Bobby. We cannot legally comment on a resolution that's on the ballot. That's a done deal.
I think.
But we
Support
certainly,
legislation.
Okay.
We
Thank you
talk
for the
about,
clarification.
talk
That's
about
fine.
like, with budget cuts, that's across the board.
yes.
Street naming is technically legislation. Legislation, almost, yeah.
Is there anybody here who would be opposed to it, just to give him some sort of idea of what challenges may be had at the board meeting, so give him ideas to get prepared for the board meeting?
An aside, I am impacted by this, and, I was concerned that I may have had a conflict of interest. To make sure that I didn't, I contacted the conflict of interest board, had a written response. That's my minimal involvement in this. Does not represent a conflict of interest. I vote against 250,000 people who are involved in this. I can vote. If I'll vote is a whole other issue.
I understand this is.
I'm on Hinge still.
Hey, guys? Okay, go ahead, Oscar.
I understand this was before or offered to the health committee, who declined to.
They didn't decline, they didn't have a quorum, and he said
Oh,
he
they
would
didn't
think
have a
about-
quorum.
And he, and he said he would,
Misunderstood.
he didn't
Okay.
decline, he said yes or no.
Understood,
Okay.
understood. Okay.
I'm sorry.
I think that this was a very appropriate, response from the aging committee. because we have so many retirees, and, it has a very wide effect on not just retirees, but people who are active members right now, because one day they will be retirees. And, bringing it to the floor, you know, getting it out of the bottleneck, is a necessary step.
And I would like to comment, the reason that we were so kind of swift and passionate about this is, we're in America, so freedom and choice is kind of the bare bones, core of this country as far as beliefs, so this just adds to it, and we wanna make sure that everyone, choice to pick.
We know the history of this? Coming cold.
Well, you may wanna check, like, with the mayor's office or whatever, just to get their side of the argument, so you're prepared to answer a question if it comes up at the board meeting.
Well, then, the mayor's office is against it.
I know.
So-
Oh, yeah.
They claim it's gonna save hundreds of millions of dollars.
$600 million.
But and just so you know, we received hundreds of, emails. We have a special folder for people in support of the 1099, of the proposal, so. I know the name
Funny
because I
number.
see it that often.
I mean, it's basically, it's bringing it to the floor.
I'm so sorry.
That's right,
You have the floor, Oscar, it's you.
bringing it to the, for vote, bringing it out where it's bottlenecked. I mean, it's not a question at this juncture whether you're for or against it, it's just to bring it out for discussion is very key. And so, I think that's the right ask.
So Marty's question was, everyone is aware, does anyone not know the particulars on the 1099?
No, concept, yes.
Okay, so
I'm with David.
excuse me, Sylvia?
I'll send it out through email.
Because we did have 3 speakers at the,
I think, that's fine.
there's no signature there. You could just,
Okay.
I signed on the top.
oh, I'm sorry, Sylvia. Okay, so we're just gonna come, we're just gonna come back, we're gonna come back. I don't have my gavel, but, oh, wait. Hello, everybody, we have one speaker at a time, please. Oscar, is there anything else?
You wanted to say something?
Thank you.
I'm done.
Okay, thank you. And for those who don't know about 1099, we could look at the, video. We have 3 guest speakers or 2, and we'll probably have some more. And we'll see if the Health Committee can send you some literature. The next committee?
You already, discussed it. You signed in. She basically gave my report. Farragut, excuse me, the district manager. No, not at all. Sufficient. You need that on the top, so yeah, it's on there.
Thank you.
Budget, the committees can start preparing?
I bring it up in December and really start pushing in January.
Okay,
So-
good enough.
I'm giving everybody the month off. Particularly Farrah.
Okay, so the next item is economic development. This isn't here, but they are hosting a walk November 3rd, this Friday. At,
On the corner of West 235th Street, on the southwest corner of West 235th and Johnson Avenue, to walk to about 25 different businesses with members from SBS and also the Bronx DA's office and the Economic Development Committee members. Anyone who's cared to join.
3 or 3:30?
I believe.
It's a 2-hour,
Oh, 3:30.
3:30, 2-hour session.
Mhm.
And education.
Have one. Everyone was sent the, copy of the resolution, which, well, let me start. My meeting, I had the School Construction Authority in attendance. We are, blessed to have an offer of a second school, a primary school at the Van Cortlandt Motel site. It was a site selection meeting, and being that we were kind of burnt on the other location at visitation, we were a little more careful this time, and it's reflected in the resolution, which was passed by my committee. And I will be bringing it to the general meeting. I don't want to read the whole thing, but does anybody have any questions?
Let's see, and I think you said that 9 people voted yes?
It was
And only
7.
7 names. Okay,
Yeah.
caught
Two-
that.
two
Since
were
caught it.
absent, yeah.
Since caught it, fine.
Yeah.
I just read it this afternoon.
Yeah. So,
Referred to the visitation. Is there any possibility that there's any larger property being built alongside or within this like there was on that one?
we're stuck on that one. And it was because I think that we have never had an offer of a new school in the district since I've been in Riverdale, which is over 50 years. So, when this was done, everybody jumped, and we really thought that the whole lot was going to be a school, which was wonderful. Jeffrey thought so, a lot of people thought so. But that was very contrary, and when they came with the site selection, they had, one of the tax maps, which just showed an outline of where the school would be. We didn't know anything about the property going to housing or anything like that, and we didn't know, we weren't allowed to be involved in any of the environmental things.
There's no sharing of use on this footprint that you're looking at now. It's exclusively,
Only what we have and the easement for the young children in the parking lot, which is great. Their roof is the gym, and 800-plus children, and, it's, I think we got a little bit screwed there. But I don't think there's anything we can do about it now. But as far as this one is concerned, they do have a playground that they think will be 11,000 square feet. It will be on the ground floor, and we don't know how high it will be. We don't know a lot of things, same as the first time. So what we did was, with the help of some smarter people than I, someone looked up the law of the School Construction Authority, and they are supposed to, within 45 days after publication of notice, each affected community school board and community board shall prepare and submit to the authority written comment on the site plan. Rosemary says it's not the site plan, it's just the tax map again. So, you don't really know what they're going to do until they do it.
are they gonna come back? Come back?
God knows what. So, each comment received to the authority, it should be prior to the action being taken by the authority in connection with such action. It's a little legalese, but to me, it sounds as if they do have to include us in the community board. So, as far as, you haven't seen it? You got another copy?
Yep.
So if you look at the, therefore be it resolved, gives you a little bit clearer picture of where we're going with it. So I'll give you a minute to look at it.
funny, the resolution notes the being on the, we're waiting for Bob to read.
Proceed.
Oh, I didn't, that I didn't.
I don't have a question on the floor, you guys proceed, I was.
Oh, okay, so, in any case, the, therefore be it resolved are, very important, and, I made it as clear as I could, and, it also, has the mention of the, environmental piece of SECR, and, we didn't have the first time that we'd be allowed to comment. Probably won't happen, but we put it in anyway. And, they are supposed to be coming back, who knows when, and
We had
approve, if they do all of what they're supposed to do, then we approve of the site.
Three very quick things, just to go back to one of the things that you were saying, about visitation. You did have, SCA came back to your committee at a later date, and a number of questions came from the community and committee members and board members. They have yet to respond to those, so I think
There was a lawsuit.
the lawsuit happened before them showing up. They weren't gonna show up because there's a lawsuit.
Exactly.
And then they showed up and answered some questions and said, we have to get back on others, and still have not gotten back. So, okay, so I
But
hope
they did come, and they did have a plan, which they, showed,
and then it
and
disappeared.
then we were told we cannot make it public.
Yes.
But on this school, they showed up, you sent
Yes.
questions to them prior, and they answered the questions.
Right, and we still have more questions.
Right.
And, I sent you the, Steve, had the 3 articles in the Riverdale Press. One of the concerns of the committee was the, W, which is a block away. So, I don't know if you have looked at it, or, if you want me to, he wanted me to send it along to FCA.
Right, because you told them that you would have more questions, and we would send over the questions of concern.
Did the office get anything in writing since my meeting?
Sorry, so, from who?
From the, community that were on the, my,
Any comments from the community? I'll
In
check
writing.
and save them all, but if you didn't get any, then we probably haven't yet.
you might have it because it was coming to you.
I will check, because usually Pablo takes those and puts them in, so I'll check myself.
Any more?
Yeah, two more minutes. We're just had 3 little things to say. Anyone who didn't sit in on Sylvia's meeting, it was very well attended. It was a very, very good hearing. Who did the advertising for it did a great job, because a lot of people showed up, unlike visitation where there was no running around.
You're going over there because I had Laura,
Thought that was you.
That is an
Well,
absolutely
name your
great.
organization that helped out.
The Broadway Community Alliance.
Okay. No, that's the way it should have happened on visitation, and it didn't. So this was done very well. And just that they are going to accept questions for the environmental.
I hung up posters at visitation,
Okay,
all around, I hung it up.
Laura, okay.
did a good job.
We're gonna,
And the third point,
Then that they're gonna accept questions for the environmental assessment is a very good thing. Where it didn't happen in visitation, it's happening here, that's a very good thing, so.
If we're allowed to do that, yes.
we are. So now, David, you have something?
That's it.
So, I'll present it at the general meeting. You had a question?
Yeah, just a copy editing suggestion. They're put at the, be it resolved, rather than the Van Cortlandt site, Van Cortlandt Motel site, you can use the address.
Right, I can.
Swap that.
Okay.
Okay, so, the next item, environment and sanitation.
At Monday's meeting, The community of Kingsbridge Avenue showed up at our meeting to report to us an unsafe condition. Very important we all understand what's happening here. This is pursuant to the construction of a new charter school, 306 West 232nd Street. The reason why these residents were invited to the E&S committee is because construction entailed a permit from DEP to dewater the site. Now, this actually is on Tibbet Avenue, and it is actually Tibbet's Brook that's been buried. So, you're familiar with the daylighting of Tibbet's Brook. This is actually the remnants of Tibbet's Brook going down to St. Dival. And so there is still an active stream there, or water there. And as part of the construction of this school between Irwin and Tibbet on 232nd, the developer needs permission from DEP to what's called dewater the site. And the applications and the permits for the discharge of 10,000 gallons of water per day into the city sewer. Now, remember, this is the same agency that's spending $150 million to prevent that thing from happening. They're actually allowing this to go into the sewer. Except that there actually is no sewer tie-in. So they have kind of amended, and they've written it in a note, that they will be discharging this water not to the city sewer, but by way of a pipe to a neighboring property, using a neighboring property essentially as a tank holding water. That neighboring property is right next to Tibbet Towers, 133 Tibbet Avenue. So the issue that there's many, many problems with that amount of water being displaced, and there's permitting questions because there's actually not going into the sewer. It's going into somebody else's property. We're also not clear if the owner of the construction site and the school site and the owner of this tank, which used to be a residence, is the same person. Okay? And there's contrary information on the permits. Sometimes it says just one owner, other times they say they own both sites. Okay? So somehow they were given a permit to construct from DOB without what's called a stormwater prevention plan, which is meant you have to maintain your water on your site. And they were allowed to avoid that because they are literally 3 square feet below the required minimum for a stormwater protection. So DOB allowed that, DEP allowed that, and they allowed the dewatering of the site. As a result, just imagine what happens when you're pumping 10,000 gallons for a residential neighborhood. Essentially, it is undermining, creating sinkholes and flooding in Tibbet Towers. There's flooding in Tibbet Towers' basement. There is undermining of their parking lot. They have lost operations of their elevator because it's shorted out. A neighboring property at 316 West 232nd Street is also experiencing flooding in their basement consequent to this construction. So we're very alarmed that this construction would be allowed to proceed with this amount of water and having nowhere to go for this water, being placed in a residential community, just sitting out there, standing water. You all know what that means. And it's seeping and undermining other people's. So Farah and Julie and I have been in touch with this all week. We hear from DEP that there's no remedy now for this application for the dewatering, which we feel is flawed to begin with. It's a DOB issue. So at this point, Laura has had experience going to the plan examiner. We're prepared to do that.
and Luke.
We're prepared to do that. There's also it is an unsafe condition, and we believe the city should be put on notice that they are risking their neighborhood and their neighbors by not enforcing this. Currently, there's a stop work order on this. It doesn't do anything about the water, though. And the water, right, and I didn't even know what the stop work order is for the construction. Right now, I know that the water is a hazard to many properties. This is going to be trouble. Stream underneath here that we didn't.
Not condition.
They're acknowledging
Yeah.
their collateral damage, yeah.
Bob, it's not clear to me what dewatering actually
They
is.
literally pump out a stream. New York City is full of streams that have been essentially capped with asphalt. We pretend they're not there. This is removing the water of a indigenous stream, Tibbetts Brook, and pumping it, not into the sewer, which would be CSO. They're
Right.
pumping it into somebody's adjoining property.
So they're not taking it from their property, they're gonna take it from Tibbet Avenue and put it
They're
into the
taking
property?
it from the construction site on West 232nd Street.
Which is like a tributary of the Tibbet Brook under?
The brook runs, let's say, along Tibbet Avenue.
Mhm.
But it still is wide enough to reach this point at West 232nd Street. It's about 100 feet from the corner of Tibbet House.
Mm-hmm.
So they discovered that there's too much water to excavate West 232nd. So they had to pump the water out somewhere. And the city allows people to do this and dump it into the sewer. But they realized there's no sewer connection to dump into. So they just bought, we hear that they bought this adjoining property to essentially use as a bathtub, store their water. And as a result, they're causing all kinds of troubles for their neighbors. Never heard of such a thing. It's just obscene to me that this would be permitted. So, we're told by DEP, take it up, it's their mistake, but we have to take it up with DOB, and, we're gonna now, we'll do the plan examiner. I think we should file, the neighbors should file that this is an unsafe condition allowed by dewatering. You don't mess with Tibbetts Brook. Don't mess with water. They did. Where it wants to. They didn't prepare for it. Just one quick other thing, we also had a lot of discussion about some recent land use that involved what's called detention. And detention is a method that will use to take care of water on their construction site. And we had a lot of people who came to our meeting saying they didn't follow the new DEP rules. So Marty and I have been in touch, and we just want to make sure that it's another example where DOB is given the responsibility for enforcement of another agency's rules, just like that, okay? So in this case, we don't know if these applications are actually up to snuff with the latest DEP rules for detention of water and green infrastructure. So I shared that with Marty, and we're gonna just make sure all these authorizations and projects are scrubbed essentially according to the latest DEP stormwater rules.
I have a different topic.
From us, I'm sorry to report really troubling news about Tibbet Avenue.
A different E&S topic? In the spring, we talked about, the Greenway going south of 230, and there was a sentiment amongst the E&S and Parks wanting to get approval, and that it would be taken up in the fall, in terms of that advocacy on our part as community board. Is that on the agenda for this month?
Yeah, we'll put it on the agenda for November.
Very good, thank you.
Health and Hospital. Are here reporting for them? Okay, next committee, Housing. Rosemary?
So we had our first meeting, October 23rd. It was, getting to know you and trying to put out all issues past, catch up with, and going into the future, spend a lot of time on that. I will just say two things I'd like to report on. One, the committee decided and really wanted to spend and are willing to spend their time to update the housing resource guide. You remember that? It's 6 years old, and, we viewed it as a very useful, document for, street fairs, for elected officials' offices, for libraries, it's just a good way to reach out to the community with something. So, the committee is willing to start working on updating that. And second, we spent some time on the city of Yes Housing, which, there was a webinar, for it. Marty was on it, Sylvia, you listened, I listened to it, and, the bottom line is, this is gonna be a 6-month, we're not gonna see the ULURP for another 5 or 6 months. They came to us, they gave their ideas, and they're starting the environmental assessment on it. And they had a scoping meeting on the 26th. Our committee put together 4 or 5 questions, comments to send in, at least to have some, we only had a couple of days to do it, but we did something to get something started with them. But we are not going to see a text, and we're not gonna be asked to vote on a ULURP item for another 5 or 6 months. So, but there's a lot to do between now and then. I know land use will be looking into this, also. I think that's it. It's the housing guide and City of Yes were the 2 big things that we have to tackle over most of the year. And our next meeting is November 27th.
Question for Rosemary. Could you share your questions, Rosemary,
Sure.
about the
Karen
scope?
has, Karen can
Okay,
give us some.
yeah, because that's for the scope of work of the DGA. It's really important. Thank you very much for taking that up. I'm really glad that our community board is addressing that.
Thank you, Rosemary.
2 items are on the land use agenda. Text changes.
But that's economic development, right? It's not housing. Am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Karen, is
It's
that right?
economic development,
Economic
ULURP and
development.
non-ULURP.
Still City of Yes, but it's economic development.
Okay, so now, at the witching hour, 8:29, and land use only has one little issue.
I made a mistake, I'm done.
No. Land use, okay, well, I know you have a lot.
There were a bunch of resolutions.
There's quite a bit.
I think 3 were approved, well, 2 approved and 2
So 8:30 will turn into 9 PM.
Tried to see this earlier to remind myself. We had a problem, we have a problem with one architect who has 3, projects before us. Came before us in September. He was advised to do certain things, and we asked for an extension so he could do those things. He came back and hadn't done them, like contacting neighbors next door. Separate issue on the one that Bob just raised. The fact is, on tape, but I had the impression that I was Wizard of Oz. Wizard kept telling us, don't look behind the screen. This architect kept saying, this is what I'm here for. You want to ask another question? Talk to them, don't talk to me. And so I think Chuck did his due diligence and appropriateness in terms of asking questions concerning the property in general and concern for the community in general. As a result, all 3 of his projects were voted down by the committee. They're listed here. And, more information for the moment. One of those properties is the one that Bob just noted, which has one before that, there's a problem with one property which tells Yeshiva is building a dormitory, and they do not have access to a sewer because there are no sewers in that section of Riverdale. It's a private sewer company. And Chuck has done his best to put the architect in touch with the president of this private sewage company, and they seem not, from past experience, we know that the woman who's responsible for the sewage company is more than willing to be cooperative, and yet we don't hear that from the architect. Don't look behind the screen. So how can he build a dorm? And, it's only SNAD. Just say we can build a building, we're not cutting trees, whatever. This is more than just a SNAD question. How can you build a dormitory without anywhere to put your effluents? And they refuse to discuss it. It's not an issue. We turned it down, and whatever happens after this, we don't know. The other property of concern which Bob raised, which also deals with the question of the water and where it's going, which is not a SNAD issue. He's right in front of a sewer, but that's irrelevant. The question, the overriding question here is, in that section of Riverdale, there is an historic and
Covenant.
covenant, thank you. I'm not religious when I say it. Has a covenant,
Farthest from
and there, in that covenant, it says institutional, well, it's more specific than this, but institutional properties cannot be constructed, built, used on this entire piece of land. He insists that he wants to put in a special needs students, preschool kids. The merit of that is not in discussion. The issue here is primarily you violate the covenant. The covenant has been challenged in court several times in the past and has been upheld by the courts. Wizard doesn't want to look beyond that. He's moving forward. So right now, we voted it down, but it's not in our hands. The issue of the large tree and the root system, and whether that tree would survive anything, let alone what he wants to do there. It's a whole other question, and where the water is going, another question, questions he would not answer. So, look behind the screen. The other piece of property that came before us involved a house on Fieldston Road, which I believe was designed by Baum, a world-renowned architect. Problem there is the face of the building has come into terrible disrepair, thanks to landmarking and whatever, in order to repair the windows, go through this process. Presentation was made of the design of the windows that will replace, will change the materials for the window, but it won't change the design of the building. It'll maintain what the building was designed to do in the first place. That one was approved. It seemed a little interesting, because I know the architect from the first three hung in, very upset that he hadn't turned down all three. Could not believe how quickly this one went through. Thank you very much. It's a great job. We think it's okay. I think no other resolution.
Thank you, Marty.
Marty, I would note for the 232 house to school building where it mentions the tree with its 40-foot canopy,
But it doesn't mention the root system, which I think is actually pretty important.
should be included in the resolution. It's critical for the survival of that tree, because it goes way under the property.
The neighbor next door made that point very clear, so I will check with Chuck on that.
Yeah.
Hearing?
Marty's the vice chair.
What?
On the agenda, there are two hearings. One is economic development. And one is ULURP hearing, and so there is non-ULURP hearing, which I don't understand how they're changing the zoning text, and one is non-ULURP, but put that aside. The ULURP hearing, it goes to make sure the ULURP hearing is a pain, I'm not allowed to say, it is a real pain. Process by which you have to have do a ULURP hearing. We rarely have ULURP hearings. The last time that I remember was Hebrew Home, and, we had a hearing up in the Y, everything is fine, our traditional hearing, right? And we got, somebody went to the Borough President's office, said they didn't do it right. And we got the call from the Borough President's office, you didn't follow the rules of a ULURP hearing. What the hell are the rules of a ULURP hearing, right? We had to redo the entire thing. You may remember that. That was when, the only site we could get was Riverdale Temple, right? And I was crucified for spending the money, but we had to do it, the clock was running out, we didn't do it right. I cannot remember all the specifics of a ULURP hearing, but did you put, first of all, it's not 10 days, it's 5 days.
The presentation, because they're having a joint
Is it a
presentation.
presentation or a hearing? It's a ULURP hearing.
Presentation.
So it's not a hearing?
No, but
There you go. I take it all back.
Yeah.
Good, fine.
The economic development,
Right at the temple.
but as you're talking, I'm thinking, the economic development and land use.
So she got crucified for being at the.
So it's not the ULURP hearing, right?
Yes, right.
Okay, there you go. Easy.
As you're talking, I'm thinking, it's a presentation, the city of Yes is coming, Jody Colon, land use and
So it's not a
economic.
ULURP hearing, just when it comes around. Comes around, be careful what the rules are, and it's really a pain in a royal pain.
So when the land use and economic development is having a presentation by the city of Yes
It's a presentation.
on November 6th.
Monday.
Would actually be good for all of us, really, but especially the new people as well. I'll consider myself new because the ULURP is daunting. So it would be definitely good to listen in on.
Know that City of Yes, as little as I know, a great idea. We need more housing, we need more higher density, we have a housing shortage. Wonderful. We're gonna come out on the short end of the stick.
Oh, yeah.
To be sure. I raised it at that meeting last Thursday night because, as pointed out by Rosemary, I attended most of that Zoom meeting. They decided that 9 districts in the city have not met its standard in terms of high-density housing. 8 is one of those 9.
Mm-hmm.
And so you know they'll be going after us. And Chuck has said it for months, the future of 1- and 2-family homes may be an end because they'll rezone us and they'll get rid of those houses and put up a bunch of high-density houses instead. It's a major concern. And yes, between ULURP, the city hates, and SNAD, which the city hates, they'll do their very, very best to reduce our ability to have a recommendation. So they'll bypass us as much as they can. So beware.
So it'll be an interesting presentation.
But also, part of the impact on us will be what's called the ADU, the accessory dwelling unit, like a mother-daughter, or mother-in-law house, like in the backyard,
Right.
which is not the same as possibly building a 6 or 10-story apartment
That's why
building.
everybody please go to the presentation.
absolutely.
Okay, I'm gonna move it along. I know we said 8:30, definitely 20 minutes, it's 20 to 9, so Special Committee on Hudson Greenway, anyone presenting? SCREE, Special Committee on Racial Equity.
Meeting tomorrow night, 7 p.m.
Special Committee on Veteran Services, Sergio.
Thank you. We met on Monday. The minutes are submitted. We're having our event on Sunday, this Sunday at noon. We'll see you all there. Setup is at 11. The committee's going to be there early to help set up. Stephanie Ehrlich will not be there, so they asked us to show up a little bit earlier to help with some continuity. And there are a couple of very interesting things going on. We had the commissioner one of the assistant commissioners at our meeting. Gave a great presentation. Basically, any veterans you know, please have them read the Veterans Resource Guide from the City Department of Veteran Services. It's on our website, I believe. I checked with Pablo, he said the link to it is there. all kinds of things. They're having a shark tank, for veterans on the entrepreneurial side, where there's funds to give out money for veteran-owned businesses. There's one more project I want to bring to everyone's attention. I will also do so at the board meeting. I sent it to the office just now. There's the Bronx Historical Society is doing a Veterans History Project, like an oral history. I'm gonna get Herb Barrett there. They're gonna tape their stories, their backgrounds, their service, what they've done afterwards, because, you know, like everybody else, we're losing people, all the time. So I asked the office to post that. There's a link to that. There's a flyer for it. It's an ongoing project, so if you come across someone in 2 months, you can have them come in, please. Thank you very much.
Unfinished business? Any new business? Next meeting?
Julie, what do you think of that? One more thing?
No.
It's Veterans Month. Happy Veterans Month. Councilmember Dinowitz did sponsor a resolution that's now law in New York. November is officially Veterans Month, so it's not just Veterans Day. I also sent that to the office. He will be making a presentation about the new law. Happy Veterans Month.
I thought they all wear comics.
Okay.
November long, so I thought
No, it wasn't a thing. It's just Veterans Day, but New York City now has Veterans Month.
Thank you. Okay, thanks. Seems so far away. Okay, the next executive committee meeting will be December 6th, and for the board meeting, we're looking for a Kingsbridge location in December, so fingers crossed. We have to get over to Kingsbridge, Van Cortlandt area.
Yeah.
Is President College about us?
They can't do December, they gave me 2 other dates in February and March. I did reach out.
So, we don't want to end up in Riverdale for the last one, we haven't even been in Kingsbridge. So we're looking for other sites for the December, you don't have to go into it, because we got 15 minutes. Well,
Motion to go into executive session.
okay, everybody, hello, everybody, hello. Okay, so now the next item is motion to go into executive session. Okay. First, I want to thank the people on Zoom for attending. We'll see you next week at the general board meeting. Thank you, good night.
Yes.
Yes.
Would you like to have the candidates?
No.
Wait.
There you go.
She's still in the waiting room.
Well, I put her there.
Okay.
Take her out, then we adjourn. Right, am I right?
Yeah, I can't remember.
In the miscellaneous, I just say, okay, whatever we discuss, we'll bring it to the board. We're recording?
Yes.
Okay, so we're at item number 12, miscellaneous business, finish the exec session, so whatever we discuss, we'll bring the issues to the full board.
Motion to adjourn.
So move. Second.
Thank you, everybody.
Real quick, because you asked about it.
And have it.
I look forward to going over to Arthur Avenue.
Yes, yes.
I'm gonna